Hi, my name's Maura Kolb. I'm the president of Dryden Gold. We're exploring for high-grade gold mineralization in Northwestern Ontario.
Maura, Happy New Year. How are you?
Great. How about you?
Yeah, good, good. I noticed that the conferences have started thick and fast in January and February
Yes.
and March and so on. Have you attended any of these yet?
Yeah, we were at MIF, VRIC, and AME Roundup, so a pretty busy start to the year.
Okay, so I guess great expectations out there. And what's the sort of mood? Who's attending these things?
Lots of retail investors kind of had a very exciting attitude when we were at MIF. I think it was nice to see a lot of people come back after I gave my talk and want to hear more about how we're deploying our exploration funds this year. We are fully funded, $5.8 million exploration budget for 2025. So we're sitting in a great position. So it was a happy place to talk to people. And then from the technical side, we were at AME Roundup. We brought an entire section of our Elora drill holes to really show people what it looks like, the kind of continuity we're getting on that gold mineralization. And we had, honestly, there was 3 of us and we lost our voices talking to people so much. So it was great, lots of energy. I wish the stock price reflected that, but busy.
So you can't have everything. You can't have everything yet.
Guess not.
Just on that core. It was quite an exceptional piece of rock you brought in there. Maybe talk about some of the grade and the intervals.
Yeah, so we had released that week 6 grams over 12 meters, and we brought a piece of that core, and we brought another section from one of the Elora holes, so that people could really see that it's not just a vein with high grade around it or with low grade around it. We actually have consistent grades throughout this thing. The mineralization is in a shear zone, so it's different than what people, I think, expected to see in an Archean system. So this means that the rock itself is all sheared, which just means it's been deformed, and it has gold disseminated throughout. Little veins, but not a big vein that you typically expect. If you think about these historic mines, it was a vein, the old timers would follow it, and that's not what we're seeing at Elora. So it really gives us more opportunity for this particular gold-bearing structure to have more continuity. And that's what we've been working on, going back to the historic data and pulling that and seeing, how much strike continuity can we have on this? And we've been permitting to be able to test this to the northeast as well.
Right. Okay. Well, look, you've been showing and proving up high grade gold, big intervals, and we'll talk about that in a second. And I think the thing that people sort of struggled with last year, so companies struggled with last year, was access to capital to actually do anything. Certainly, the explorers struggled, and they weren't seeing a lot of love in the market as a result. Now, the Centerra investment, tell us, how did that come about? How much? What are their expectations of you?
So when we were in Beaver Creek and we were raising money for fall financing, which we had to upsize 3 times. So, it was a hard year, but we did have a lot of interest in our project. So I think that starts to show that we do stand out. We have different things than a lot of the others. We have great jurisdiction, high grade, ease to access this project, and a systematic approach. But back to Centerra. So we started talking with them around then. We were able to close the deal in December. I think everybody was asleep and busy with Christmas, but $3.38 million, which gives us a big exploration budget this year. They really want to see us do regional exploration and keep working on our brownfields opportunities. So it gives us what we need to really drive this project forward and make that new discovery that I'm all excited about.
Right. Now, obviously, with the team's track record, you've all worked with majors in terms of how you, I guess, collected and displayed this information to someone like Centerra, $1.9 billion company. What was that kind of attracted them most about the potential of what you're talking about?
You know what? The first thing was getting some momentum, starting to understand what we had at Gold Rock, and from there, we showed them our systematic approach. So this is, tried and true method that I've been using in these types of deposits with for years. And we've been able to grow deposits, bring discovery costs down, the things you do at a major company, which you don't often see juniors doing. So we have laid out a pipeline of exploration targets, rated and ranked them so that we have them based on, grade is always king. So that's for front and foremost something we rate everything on. If we're not looking for 1 gram deposits here, we're looking for 10 gram. That's what we would like the average grade of these things we're finding to be. So we look at grade, we look at the possibility for size of these deposits or these targets, and we just started showing them how we were ranking. And then the systematic approach where we test, take a pause, integrate the new data, and then we can go and hit it even better, more smartly with the new information that we've gathered. So you don't see this often, but it's a really systematic approach that we've done, and we're very disciplined that way, that even though we have this money in the kitty, we're still planning on going on these phased approaches through 2025 to be able to integrate as much new data as possible and get the best bang for our shareholders' bucks. Make sure we can get the most out of every dollar.
Right. Okay. And I just want to come down and talk about this kind of systematic approach, right? Because it's, as you say, it's kind of big boy approach rather than explorer, hoping for the best, as it were. You talked a lot about the kind of geological setting or Red Lake's geological setting, sort of informing a lot about what you do. So can you talk about some of those sort of structural controls, mineralization styles that compare specifically to kind of help you with this understanding or guiding your exploration targeting?
Absolutely. So when I first looked at the camp, I saw an obvious similarity between geometries when you look at Red Lake and the Gold Rock Camp area. And beyond that, too, we looked at other great gold districts like Timmins, and there is a study between our gold camp, the Wabigoon district, and Timmins, comparing the major structural controls of mineralization and the timings. So they're very similar ages too. So there are a lot of check marks for these, true Archean deposits looking similar to our little region here in Dryden that's been so underexplored and so understudied. So that is a really key element we have here. This major shear zone goes from the northeast to the southwest of the property. It looks to be the true gold-bearing event. It is what we call an unconformity, meaning that the rocks are very different on either side. And that's really important because it means this thing is a serious structure. This isn't just a little crack. It's been going long. It's been in use and used long enough that there would be significant fluid flow through it. And that's what you need, significant fluid flow to deposit significant gold. So that's why we really like the structure, and that's why our entire land package really is focused on that Manitou to Norwich deformation zone. The other thing that really we need that's similar to Red Lake, and you'll see similarities to Timmins too, the intersections between other structures. So there's an older, we call it D1, but it's an older structure that's more east-west. That is having interplay with the major gold-bearing structure. And our work since last year, we've started to see a north-south structure as well. So you want to see all these different generations of structures because they create traps or holes basically for gold to pool in. So we have all of the right ingredients in terms of a structural setting. And then we looked at the right rock types. So we have this high magnetic mafic unit. Now, often when you're looking at mafics, everybody just kind of groups them all together, but it does matter. And I saw in Red Lake, as we actually started doing geochemistry on the different rock units, the stratigraphy as we call it, that certain layers were better hosts than others. So we've started looking at that, mapping that out in our geologic model so that we can see if that is creating better traps for gold mineralization. And the geochemistry, the work we're doing in the summer that a lot of people I think don't understand, it's so foundational to finding gold more inexpensively. Once we understand what the right host is, we can target that host and we don't kind of waste money targeting the wrong things. So we are able to see these great geologic host rocks, the structures are right. And we've built a team around this. We have structural geologists, myself, but also on our on the ground team. Well, I'm on the ground, I'm sitting in Dryden today, but we have structural geologists and geophysicists that we work with, and geochemists, Anna is one. So we kind of have all of those pieces so we can get the most out of the data set before we spend more drill dollars.
Because, this systematic approach to kind of testing, I guess, the continuity between these kind of high-grade zones is critical. Where are you with doing that or testing that at depth? You talk about a new drill program coming up. How does that add to the data set from which you're working at the moment?
Yeah, so on Elora, we've been stepping out a little bit at a time. We're setting up in February. We're looking here to be ramping up here on the 10th with another drill campaign, and we're going to be stepping down deeper on Elora. What we've been able to gather through the structural measurements, we're quite confident in the plunge control, and that's really all those intersections that I was talking about, of this structure continuing at depth. Right now, we're at about 250 meters. I want to see step outs down to 3. I really think this thing continues to go much deeper than that as well. We are in the process, I think I may have mentioned, maybe not yet, but we are permitting to be able to drill further to the northeast, but that'll also give us the opportunity to, as trailers say, cozy up closer to this Elora structure, because right now we have the ability to drill on patented claims, which is just Ontario's considers as mining land, so you don't have to permit for it. We've done all of the same process, permitting or not, with our local communities to get the okay to drill. So we don't really expect any hiccups or changes with the drill permit that is in the process of being approved right now. But we'll be able to move up and get closer to Elora and be able to drill deeper from even better positions than we are now. So that's really exciting, as well as start to test to the northeast. The most prolific mine in the area had 14 grams per ton. Now that's about a kilometer step out from where we've been drilling Elora. That was its average grade. It wasn't a big producer. It was about 10,000 tons, but this was at horse and buggy times. You have to remember this is like very small mining that was done in the Gold Rock camp. So that's a big deal. And to have that kind of grade is pretty exciting, pretty sexy. And so that's what we're about a kilometer away from on the Elora structure.
Okay, so with regards to sort of again coming back to the sort of the technical, specifically the technical work to understand what the potential is for this mineralization. I understand what you're saying about what's happening in the region, but how do you get after this at depth efficiently? Because going deeper means more money. It also is, you start to lose that kind of certainty around the data that you're using to drive that decision making.
We do it in phases, so you don't shoot your wad all at once. We're going to do a hole, and then we'll react. What does that mean? What have we learned? Are the structures any different as we move down? And then we can adjust that. So that's what it goes back to, being able to do phased approaches on drilling. It really does save us more money in the long run. And we have a great relationship with the local drill company that we use, Dryden Drilling, to be able to do this phased approach. We've had consistent drill crews. You just don't get this, but it's because we're local. I think that's something that makes us stand out as well. Like having this local hub in Dryden and being here makes a big difference to our costs. Our all-in drilling cost is quite low. It's about $250 all in Canadian. So that's pretty incredible when I was talking with others who are seeing $500 US. So, we're able to be really dynamic, which saves money.
Funny. Right. Okay. And I'm we're kind of getting into the weeds a bit here, but obviously with multiple targets like Gold Rock, Hyman, Sheridan, etc. How do you technically rank and prioritize for the systematic exploration? What sort of geological or geochemical criteria, guys like decision making?
Well, we have this great geophysical data set, which we have over the entire property, which is a government flown survey, but incredibly tight spacing. So that's amazing. Again, something we got for free and we've been able to capitalize on using on the entire district scale. So it kind of allows us to look at properties that aren't even ours and rate and rank whether they would be favorable. So that's driven some of our staking and some of our property acquisitions over 2024. So always trying to be as smart as possible with these things. Now back to the targets themselves. We're ranking them on potential size. Grade was always first, so grade and then potential size. Ease to exploration is also important. You need a social license to be able to explore anywhere in the world, but Northwestern Ontario is very important, and we're working with the communities on that. So we know kind of the areas where they're more favorable to go explore versus areas, under lakes that are not. They're also more expensive, so it just makes sense that way. So lots of different factors go into ranking that. And then the geologic factors are very important. So does this have enough of the structures and all that? It's really about being smart about how we do this, and systematic so that we can get the most value for our shareholders out of this exploration. I'm really excited about the extensions that we've seen so far. Sorry, go ahead.
Now we're kind of getting into it because obviously with this money, you said, you've been really clear about what they would like you to in terms of this regional explanation, in terms of this money that's come in. But how do you allocate the actual dollars? You've talked about what you prioritize, how you prioritize it. In terms of dollar terms, what does that convert to at Gold Rock versus the regional targets? Because you've got the balance of trying to manage the market's expectations versus what your new 9.9% shareholder wants from you.
Well, we're learning so much from what we've been drilling at Gold Rock that we can apply to the regional targets, that we're always taking everything we learn from each and merging the theories, so to speak. So we've got about a little more than half the budget is going to be focused on Gold Rock, expanding Elora up to the northeast, but really focusing on the depth potential and just expanding strike. So that is a big chunk of the budget. Now, everything we learned there, we're applying to these other exploration targets as well. And we have 2 top priority regional targets that are a big chunk of the budget as well, at least flagged to be, which actually does include Gold Rock. We put some new results out this morning. That's a step out to 2 kilometers to the northeast on trend, Mud Lake area, we're calling it, adjacent to Mud Lake. But it looks like 3 additional structures, high grade results, 24 grams per ton, 9, like lots of nice things to see from surface samples, which again, we've gotten some really great surface samples, but that's not normal. That's not what you typically see. It's quite anomalous to have those kind of values. So it's really exciting to have great results from surface sampling. So we have 3 targets. That includes Hinman as well, which we press released earlier this year with 34 grams per ton on surface. So again, that's an extension from a geophysical target that we saw. We decided to map, which is a very inexpensive way to explore something, but you get a lot of value out of that. And then great results on it. So, and then down to the south, Sheridan, which had historically really high grade results, 617 grams per ton surface sample, which we've mapped as well, but done more detailed science on rather than prospecting. So, because we know we have high grade there, so just figuring out how that fits. So really good targets.
Let's talk about that. Those are insane grades, right? And there have been higher. Is a crazy thing here. But let's talk about surface sampling, because most people just go, whatever. It's a bunch of rocks at the surface. They could have come from anywhere, right? But what specific geophysical signatures are you seeing there? And how do they compare with the signatures over like known mineralization, say?
Yeah, so we've done this thing called a 3D inversion and a geologic model that goes with it. So basically you take all the data we have, we're able to create a 3D model that gives you not just surface, but below surface of what's going on with the rocks, the faults, the different rock units, the intersections that are very important for hosting gold. We use that along with the anomalies that come out of it, where there is a geophysical signature basically that doesn't represent what we see based on the geologic knowns we have. And that usually represents alteration or mineralization. And those come with gold, typically. We were able to see those on top of the known deposits at Gold Rock, which very, very exciting. And then when we talk about like Hinman, we saw some of those anomalies where we had collected great surface samples. And when we did more mapping there, we noticed it was a big intrusion, and we're able to see several other targets that look very geophysically similar. The mapping expanded that and showed that there was more, it wasn't just, hits on one vein, it actually went across there, and there were several other nice surface samples as well. And when I say surface samples, for us here, we actually have about 30% outcrop exposure. Because these rocks are so altered, they actually stick up a bit. So we're able to actually get samples that you'd normally have to drill to get. If you look at other areas where there's a lot of cover, you can't do this kind of mapping. We're very, very fortunate to have this much rock exposed at surface to be able to truly map and get samples that are in situ, so we know where they came from. So that's a big difference from when you're, getting a float sample or, a piece of gravel and you don't know where it came from. We know this rock came from the location where it is. So it's pretty telling, and it does set us up for drill targets. So we have about 36% of the budget set aside to drill test later in the year when we're ready on some of these regional targets that we've been mapping and working on. So, you could see a new target be drilled this year. And then we have a small portion of the budget to do really early stage, those areas that are undercover. or something we call till soil sampling, but that gives us these anomalies based on the geochemistry. And we've got the signature of geophysics. We've got what they are doing geochemistry wise based on the drilling we've done. We know the alterations, and we can actually pick up the vectors that tell us we're getting near a gold deposit. So it's kind of using three fronts of exploratory tools to make the best discoveries as quick as possible.
Okay, so 2025, seeing you drilling, you're funded for it on Elora Gold, on Gold Rock, and also new targets at Gold Rock, and this regional activity. Okay, I understand what you're saying. I always like talking to you because it's like you and I talk at 1.5 speed, I think. So we get there quite quickly. I like it. Want to talk to you about move away from this kind of technical. It feels to me like you've got a plan, you know what you're doing, and you know why you're doing it. I think that you articulated that today. Markets, something out of your control. It was a tough, well, it's been a tough 3 years, quite frankly. But it was a tough year in 2024. Explorers not really being rewarded. I'm interested in not just the money that you've got, but the fact that the type of money that you've got. Okay, I know you said from Centerra, and we know what the expectations of you are, but do you think for explorers, you're all having to come at it slightly differently from the way it worked historically?
Oh, absolutely.
Industry money.
Yeah. So, historically, explorers with some high grade results could get a lot of traction and see stock prices really increase. And we're just not seeing that. Good results, unfortunately, are not having much of an impact on your share price in the market. Now, there's still a retail investor group that's interested, but they have a lot to choose from, and it's not even in mining. They have a lot of things to choose from, right? So it's very hard to get their attention. We are, I think, doing a good job with that. You can tell by our shareholder list that we have quite significant and strong shareholder base on the retail side, as well as some institutional and mining focused people. But the big win here for juniors is that the mid-tier and major companies are investing in us. They're looking for who is doing the approach that they would do themselves, but can be way more nimble, can operate just much more easily, but would do the same sort of systematic scientific approach. And so one of the things that sets us apart is that Anna and I have come from majors. We worked with Gold Corp for years. So we have a very robust approach to how we explore, and that's attractive to majors and mid-tiers. Centerra is not the only person we've talked to, and there are lots of interested parties paying attention to what we're doing. So it's another way that we can raise capital, and it may be probably even more important than it has been in the past.
Well, I think it has. I think people are going to work out, how to access money, and I think it seems to be coming from either radically changing business plan or jumping into different commodities, which I think is all wrong. But following industry has always been important. If you understand what the big boys want, whether mid-tiers, majors want, and you work to that, you've got a better chance of the right outcome down the line. Where I agree with you, 50% of juniors are gold, so it's hard to stand out. It's a lot of white noise out there. But you got to have something different about you. And I think in your case, the experience of the team, relevant experience of the team as well. But the grade, if you keep delivering that is the standout for you, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. The standout. And if we can continue to figure out why it is where it is and find this continuity on these high grades, it gets so exciting quickly. We love to compare ourselves to Great Bear, but I think it's a good story comparison. They did the right foundational geologic approach. They had a little bit better market than us, so that was nice for them. But they did all of those same steps. I've gone to technical talks where I said all the things we were doing, and they did all the same things. And then you make your break of a new discovery, and that changes everything. Like, we don't have that many more places to explore and find new gold deposits, and we are running out of them. The major mid-tier companies need more feed for their longevity. So we have to do this. We have to make new discoveries, and it's pretty exciting to be, front and center of a lot of these major mid-tier companies. They're paying attention to us, so that's good to see.
It is indeed. Well, look, Maura, as ever, great to hear from you. Great to talk to you about what's going on. Just leave us. The last 30 seconds is timing on the drilling. When we can start expecting to see some assays back from you, please, if you don't mind.
Yep. Drilling's going to start here shortly in February. Like we're looking at the 10th as a startup date. We should have results coming. It'll be hard pressed to get them for PDAC, but shortly after we'll start having results coming back. You will see some more results from our field programs. I know not everybody finds that exciting, but the technical people will, because it's pretty cool what we've come up with. So watch for more of that.